That t-shirt is hilarious. I have a feeling I'm gonna be thinking about that tomorrow.
Today's biggest goal is not to fall because remember, I fell at the Fontana Days half.
I'm okay. Okay. All right, okay. Took a nasty spill there. I didn't see a pothole.
Yeah, that race was originally supposed to be like a warm-up for a Big Bear, but seeing that I fell, that's why I'm here running, another downhill race closer to Big Bear.
Welcome back to my channel. This episode is all about the Revel 2024 Big Cottonwood Half Marathon as part of my journey to a Boston qualifier at the Revel Big Bear Marathon on November 16th, 2024. Big Cottonwood is extra special for me because it's not just another half marathon, it's my redemption race. After taking a fall at the Fontana Days Run Half Marathon, I was hesitant about running another downhill race. That moment shattered my confidence, and for a while, I was even scared to run downhill. But this weekend, I'm here to conquer that fear. Training for this race hasn't been easy. I've been dealing with a heat wave throughout the summer, and let me tell you, training for a downhill half marathon in sweltering heat is a challenge on its own. We had a heat wave the weekend before the race.
Good morning. It's September 8th, and we are 6 days away from the Big Cottonwood Half Marathon, and I'm here doing a 3-mile run. Right now, we're in the middle of what I hope to be the last heat wave of the summer. It is 6:30 in the morning. Sun just barely came up and it's already 70 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's at the beach. Sometimes I train out in the Inland Empire, near the desert, and it's really hot. I think right now it's like in the high 70s, low 80s. This has been really nuts with how hot it's been this past summer. I normally like to sleep in a little bit on my Sunday mornings off, but I had to get up early just to beat the heat. So here I am on a 3-mile easy run, mile 1, 10:05. I'm really keeping it easy because in addition to the heat, there's humidity, so the air feels a lot heavier to breathe. Mile 2, 9:24. So I made up some time there. Mile 3, 9:11. Oh boy, was that a hot and humid run. But thankfully, it shouldn't be like that on race day. I mean, after all, it does start up in the mountains.
Looks like Salt Lake City was going through a heat wave too, but at least there will be a respite on race day.
What's that saying again? Heat training is like elevation training or hills training. If running in the heat is equivalent to running at elevation because it increases your blood volume and also increase your mental resilience, then I got plenty.
Originally, I had not planned on running Big Cottonwood, but my coach had recommended it as a good tune-up for Big Bear. Since it was a short flight to Salt Lake City, it wouldn't be a major deal to travel to it. I've sat in traffic longer driving to races all over Southern California. Best of all, I was going to get away from the heat. I was looking forward to this quick trip. The last time I was in Utah was in 2004, so just 20 years ago. I forgot how close it is to Los Angeles.
And under 2 hours later, I'm here in Salt Lake City. I got plenty of time to head over to the Expo. The Expo doesn't open until 10 and it's still before 9. So I'm just gonna go pick up my bag because I got voluntold to check in my carry-on. So I guess that's a way to kill time. And there she is, my carry-on that I got voluntold to check in at the gate.
Why is it easier to catch an Uber at every other airport besides LAX? Seeing the mountains in the background got me even more excited about the race. This was going to be an even bigger drop in elevation than the Fontana Days run at over 2,800 feet.
I had no idea that the Expo was this far from Salt Lake City. Just goes to show I don't really know much about Salt Lake City. So it was about a 40-minute ride from the airport, but here we are at the Real Salt Lake Academy. I've never been early to an expo. Usually I come in the middle of the afternoon, but this is just how my schedule worked out.
AstroTurf. At least I'll be able to roll my luggage across it.
The official countdown just a little over 20 hours before start time.
That's right, this weekend is all about Big Cottonwood, and then in 2 months, I will be taking on Revel Big Bear Marathon for that elusive Boston qualifier.
I guess I can just go ahead and pick up my bib. They have people lined up there.
That was the fastest that I got through bib pickup.
This is cool. So I picked up my t-shirt, and what's even better is I get a beanie.
Thank goodness for the beanie, because I think I underpacked for the weather here. It's actually a lot colder than I thought. I mean, I just came from a really bad heat wave and all the wildfires in Southern California, so this cool weather is a shock.
You can never be too sure, so this is a self-bib check. Let's try it out. Oh, there I am. Yep, that's me. And that's how old I am.
I suppose I could have quickly checked out the booths and grabbed another Uber to the hotel, but I decided to stick around to watch the course review. I highly recommend it for the Revel races because there's a lot more strategy involved in running downhill than I had thought.
Well, I'm glad that I stayed around for that 1 hour presentation so I can learn about the course and the strategy. It's not even noon yet, so I'm not even sure if they'll let me into my room, but maybe I can just park my stuff out there and go for my shakeout run.
Time to head out from the expo because I didn't want to be on my feet too long. It was a scenic Uber drive to my hotel in Midvale, which was a mile away from the shuttle pickup spot for race day.
This room is huge for a hotel. It's almost like I could do my shakeout run here. I'm just not used to rooms being this big. Thank goodness they allowed me to check in early. I'm gonna unpack here and then I'm gonna go out for my shakeout run. I kind of want to get everything done early because I got to be up at 3 because I think the bus, they take off at 4:15, 4:30. Plus, I didn't get very much sleep last night because I was so paranoid about missing my early flight. Here's the flat lay for tomorrow. Remember what they said at the expo? They said dress for the finish line, which I totally am. I got my tank there. I got my glasses. I'm gonna have arm sleeves because it's supposed to be in the low 30s at the start. I got my calf sleeves, my shorts, socks. I'm gonna bring these 3 gels and I'm gonna wear my vapor flies. So yeah, originally I had planned on it being in the 60s at the finish line. I did not think about the start line being in the low 30s. But I'm not gonna worry too much about the start because they did include this Mylar blanket, so that'll keep me warm, and these gloves. I just realized these bibs are personalized because here it says this is my first Revel race and my first Big Cottonwood. Did I read that right? Redeem for ice cream? Well, I hope there'll be an ice cream stand at the finish line, so instead of your usual beer garden, maybe it's an ice cream garden.
Turns out it was warm for my shakeout run. It was still cooler than the heat wave from the previous weekend.
It's almost 2 o'clock and I still got to get in my shakeout run. So the plan is I'm going to run 20 minutes and that last mile I'm going to do 4 sets of 20-second strides. Now where am I going to run? I'm thinking about running to Trader Joe's. I saw there was a Trader Joe's nearby and I do need to pick up a couple of things for tomorrow morning, like a banana and some milk because I actually brought some cereal with me. I'm gonna stop here at the intersection. I'm gonna go straight ahead once the light turns green. Green means go. Run towards the mountains. I wonder, are we at elevation? I gotta check because I'm feeling a lot winded than usual. And there we go, 20 minutes.
I had forgotten that we indeed were at elevation, so that 20-minute shakeout run had me shook. I had traded in heat for elevation.
So I just checked. Actually, we are at elevation. We're at 4,400. And I wonder why I was feeling a little gassed out there. This 20-minute shakeout run seemed a lot harder than usual. I'm used to running at sea level. I mean, that's where I'm at. I'm in LA. Good thing that tomorrow is a downhill race because, you know, if this was a completely flat course, I'd be in big trouble. On to my walk to Trader Joe's. I'll just think of it as acclimating to the elevation. Yes, here we go at Trader Joe's. This looks interesting. The Angry Korean. Well, it is 2:20. I might as well have lunch or a super early dinner.
Why not add some more carbs to my chicken katsu rice bowl by adding on sweet potato noodles? I even added on a fried egg for more protein. This bowl, along with the strawberry lemonade, was going to give me plenty of carbs for tomorrow's race. The food was delicious, but the portions were huge. Good thing I was able to pack a leftover box.
Finally, the main event, the whole point of coming out here.
All right, little piece of Denmark here in Utah.
Hit the jackpot with Trader Joe's 23-cent banana.
I am striking out on the milk. These milk bottles are way too big. I only need like a splash for my cereal, so I don't think I'm gonna get any milk. After that big Korean lunch, I don't think I can look at any more carbs, at least not for a while.
I'm so full I can't look at any more food.
All I know is when I get back to LA, I am going on a Trader Joe's run. I love it. I got a microwave and I got a fridge, so this is where my leftovers are going to be going in. And my drink.
It was only 3:30 p.m., but I was turning in early. The early morning start and the elevation had worn me out. The ironic thing was I was tossing and turning throughout the night, so at least I got up at 3 a.m.
Here's the breakfast of champions, but unfortunately without any milk, so I'm gonna have to eat this dry because I couldn't find like a small container of milk yesterday at Trader Joe's. Oh well, the value of it is there are 53 grams of carbs, so this is gonna be very helpful for today's half marathon. There's the 23-cent banana from Trader Joe's.
I can't believe it. I actually got my bib on in one shot. I'm normally pretty compulsive about how I want my bib to line up, and I'm always like, you know, fumbling with the pins and everything a few times, but I did it in one shot. I shouldn't be too stressed out about this. This is the half marathon. It's not full marathon, so this is not my BQ attempt. That's going to be in November, so that's when, you know, I should be stressed out. Remember, this is a no stress race. Just gonna go out there, enjoy the views of the canyon, and then see what my body will allow itself to do with the help of gravity.
I see the buses, but where do we enter to line up? And we're definitely in the right place. I do see runners, so it's a matter of how to get on the bus.
If it's one thing I learned from running at the California International Marathon, or CIM, it's to try to get to the shuttle stop early so you don't have to stand in line. It was a 30-minute drive for the half marathon start. For people running the full marathon, it was an hour-long drive, so getting to the shuttle stop with plenty of time was more important.
It's 45 degrees here at the start. Kind of reminds me of the times that I did my runs in Iceland this summer, where it was like in the mid-40s.
Exactly what I'm looking for. The Mylar blanket to keep me warm.
I've never seen so many Mylar blankets at the start of a race, but they were keeping us warm. We also could have taken warmer clothes and checked them into our gear bag at the start. I'll remember that for Big Bear. The porta potty lines weren't long for this size of the race. One downside to being one of the first buses up to the mountain was that I had to stand around for an hour before start time. There were more half marathoners being dropped off. Strangely, it did feel warmer, but that could have been due to the body heat generated by the increasing number of runners. Then it was time to take off my running jacket and check in my gear bag. Since this was my first Revel race, I wasn't sure how the start line worked or if there were corrals. It didn't seem like it, so I was going with the flow. There were some runners who were hanging on to their warm gear up to the last minute. They ended up tossing the bags into the truck as it was going down the mountain first.
All right, bye Mylar blanket. Can't take it across the start line because it messes up the timing belt.
We're gonna start here pretty soon, and it's still pretty dark. It's almost 6:30.
My plan had been to run with a 150 pace group, but the pace leader had told me to go ahead and run with a 140 group, even though I'd planned on running around 145. He reassured me that if I fell too far behind, they would help me. Those words were encouraging.
All right, remember, the goal is don't trip. And I've already almost tripped over people. It's exciting. Walk in the dark, start in the dark here. And I'm cold, but as long as I keep moving, I'll be okay. Because remember, part of my training, I did run in Greenland, and that was cold.
All right, I guess I'll line up with 140. That seems like a pretty ambitious plan here, because realistically, I think I'm gonna be running around 140, 145 if things go right, if I don't fall. I mean, 738. I mean, I was training like 750s. So we'll see how long I can stick with this pace. Let gravity do its thing. All right, we're starting. Don't trip. Okay, yeah, we're starting. Whoa. Okay, I don't think I'm gonna be filming very much because I really gotta make sure I don't trip because it's dark. All right, see you at the bottom in one piece.
I think I'm still traumatized after that fall at the Fontana Days run, so I held back going down the first 9 miles. I was afraid of falling again, and with Big Bear being 2 months away, I didn't want to injure myself. I thought it would be better to be a few minutes slower than my potential and be injury-free to continue with the training. Also, I didn't realize how steep the first 9 miles were. The speaker at the Expo said it was a 5.1% decline, and that's a lot steeper than any downhill paths I've trained on. Another factor I didn't consider is that Salt Lake City is at elevation. Starting elevation was over 7,000 feet, so I found it laboring to breathe in the first few miles. At least the starting elevation at Big Bear is 6,000 feet and ends at 1,500 feet, which is the elevation I live half the time when I'm working. I had to take a couple of walk breaks through the water stations in the later miles to catch my breath. Even though we were descending, this was still high elevation for someone who trains half the time at sea level. The race ended around 4,400 feet in elevation.
This is obnoxious to climb in the last mile. All right, 0.5 left.
With the first 9 miles being super steep and running at elevation, I dialed it back. What should have been running at 7 out of 10 effort, I decided to go for a 6 out of 10 effort. Just enjoy the views of running through the beautiful canyons and concentrating on my form. Turn this race into a productive long run, and you get a medal at the end.
Good job, Tina. Congrats. Good job.
I did my number 1 goal, which was not to fall. My ankle turned a couple of times there, but it's okay. I made it.
Mile 1 was slowest at 8:25 minutes per mile because it was crowded in the beginning. It was also dark and I was hesitant about making any major moves that would result tripping over a pothole. Otherwise, I had kept the pace pretty consistent even in the steep downhill miles. I was playing it safe. Surprisingly, I felt comfortable in the last 5K of the race where the gradient was about 1.5%. That was gentle enough for me not to worry about falling.
Yes, so what's hell? Oh, thank you.
And it's ice cold. I was cold up there at the start. Now I'm hot. Official time, 1:45:33. So I did it. That's what I wanted to run. I wanted to run around 1:45-ish. So I got to keep moving here, and also I see more goodies. Got to fill up my goodie bag here.
Oh, here it goes. There's the free ice cream. Ooh, they all look good. Guess I'll get an orange-sicle, or orange flavored.
It's 54 degrees right now, and I don't care. I'm going to eat a popsicle.
Here's a cool thing about the Revel race. They print out your results on a postcard. It also had other stats such as your overall placement, gender, and age division. Of course, no race is without its challenges. Even though this is a predominantly downhill course, there are moments where the heat, the hills, or even the fatigue get to you. That's when you have to dig deep and remember why you're here.
The atmosphere here is festive. Everybody's having a great time. There's just so much joy and happiness here. But it's about 9:30 and I want to get the shuttle to get back to the hotel because I actually have a flight to catch back home this afternoon. And I want to have plenty of time to eat my leftover angry Korean food before getting on the plane. Oh, okay, so this is where we catch the bus. I just had to look for the signs.
Just like how there were plenty of buses at the start, there were plenty at the finish. I didn't have to wait in line on tired legs for a bus. I appreciate how Revel made transportation seamless. Even though we were about 2 miles from the original pickup spot, I could have tacked on the extra mileage as part of training. I was glad for the lift.
Thank you so much. Thank you. The 1 mile walk back to my hotel. I'll think of it as active recovery. It's good to get the legs moving after a downhill half marathon because I want to get rid of that lactic acid. Surprisingly, I'm not as sore as I thought I was going to be. Maybe it was a good decision to kind of like dial it back a bit. I didn't go all out like I had planned on doing it. Better that I have 2 intact legs to continue training for the next 2 months rather than going all out and then risking injury and then, there goes my chances for Big Bear. Remember my leftovers from the Angry Korean? Well, it's gonna make a great post-race meal. This looks so appetizing despite it being leftovers, but after you run a half marathon, of course, you're gonna be starving.
I've never understood people who just like throw away their leftovers or don't take it back home. I mean, it's food that's being wasted.
With that, I grabbed an Uber for the 20-minute ride to the airport. Gosh, this was so much easier than all the times I've driven to the races in Southern California. At this year's Los Angeles Marathon, it took me nearly an hour to exit the parking lot. I want to put Big Cottonwood on the list of races to run because of the ease of traveling back and forth. Crossing that finish line today was more than just finishing a race. It was proof that no setback is permanent. It's about overcoming fears, facing the challenges head on, and finding strength when it feels like you've got nothing left.
Overall, I'm pleased with my performance at the Big Cottonwood Half Marathon. Didn't matter that it wasn't a PR. The main thing was that I finished the race without falling, and it was a good tune-up for Big Bear in 2 months. I didn't take full advantage of the downhill as I should have. I think my fear and just the traumatic memories of falling at Fontana day's run, made me more hesitant about, fully leaning into the downhill. Maybe that's something I need to work on in the next 2 months, which is to get over that fear of running downhill at full speed. Because I certainly could have ran it a lot faster. I mean, I've been able to run at a faster pace on flat surfaces. Yet, it was a good introduction to the Revel race series. I've never ran a Revel race before, but I know they've been around for a long time, and many of my running friends have done their events. I found them to be well organized. I appreciated how they thought of every little thing, like even making sure that you had your safety pins in the gear check bag. The Mylar blankets and the gloves were very much needed this morning when it was really cold, but next time at Big Bear, I'm gonna pack some more warm clothes. So now I'm waiting to get back home to LA, and then I have the Manhattan Beach 10K in 2 weeks. I'm running it because it is literally like where I run on Saturday morning, so might as well. Plus it'll be a good speed session. But then these next 2 months will be me prepping for Big Bear, and hopefully then that's when I'll finally get my BQ, or at least PR. But no, I really want a BQ.
Just as I was editing this video, the Boston Athletic Association announced the new qualifying standards, so now I will have to run faster than a 3:35. This will be a challenge, but I will continue to believe in my training. The stakes are even higher now at Big Bear in November. Thanks for following my journey, and I'll see you in the next race at the Manhattan Beach 10K in October.